Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 24th of July 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the, of course, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, and different statements that have come vis-a-vis Pakistan's security paradigm. Now, chairing a meeting of the Federal Cabinet in Islamabad today, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has voiced serious concerns over the recent surge in terror attacks, especially in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and he referred to the involvement of TTP in the terror attacks, and he said that terror emanating from a neighbouring country is not acceptable at all. Pakistan's special envoy to Afghanistan, Ambassador Asif Khan Durrani, also on Tuesday said that the banned militant Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan group was the country's red line, and there were hopes that the interim Afghan government would take effective measures and such actions against this outfit. Then we also had the DGISPR, who had a very long press briefing in which he also highlighted different aspects of Pakistan's security paradigm, of which TTP is an important part of those who have been destabilizing Pakistan. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Palestine-Israel war that has now entered its 292nd day. Some good developments as far as that is concerned, whether it be the Beijing declaration that has happened in China with all 14 factions of in Palestine agreeing to work together, and we will be highlighting the different aspects of the Beijing declaration. Of course, that has also been lauded by our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, as well as the arrival of Netenyahu in the United States of America. He is going to address the joint session of the Congress. What will happen, because already protests are going on in the United States against what Israel has been perpetrating in Palestine. So will this pressure tactic work as far as what is happening in Palestine? Will Israel continue unabated? Also, as we see, the number of casualties keeps on increasing. The latest figures are not that favorable. 39,145 people have been killed so far, around 90,257 injured, and that number has already increased by the time we are airing this show. This and more will be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to talk about Prime Minister's hepatitis C eradication program that is going to be launched this month. With over 16% of global hepatitis patients living in Pakistan, the government has now decided to launch this program, in which special emphasis will be given to eradication of hepatitis B and hepatitis C, and of course there will be there's a huge amount of money that has been allocated so that all the people could get their vaccinations and also get treated and also get screened whether they have any form of hepatitis or not. Then the New Zealand Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, has apologized on child abuse that was found in an inquiry. Now, Christopher Luxon apologized and promised reforms after a public inquiry found 200,000 children, young people and vulnerable adults who were abused in state and religious care over the last 70 years. A public apology, an official apology rather, will also be following on the 12th of November. Finally, the death anniversary of Urdu writer Qudratullahshahab is being observed across Pakistan and in the literary world across the globe as well. He was born in Gilgit on the 26th of February 1920, and of course shahabnama is one of his most famous publications. He passed away on this very day in 1986. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns Afghanistan, TTP, Pakistan, and TTP being a red line for Pakistan. We've been joined by two guests to discuss this. In the studios, we've been joined by Hassan Khan. He's a famous Afghan affairs analyst and joins us after a very long time in the studios. Thank you very much, Hassan, to have joined us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
The pleasure is all ours as usual. And online we've been joined by Shahid MG Kiani Saab. He's a former ambassador and analyst. Shahid Saab, welcome to our show.
I'm honored. Thank you very much.
Let's begin with you, Hassan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif today chairs a Federal Cabinet meeting. He voices serious concerns over the security situation in Pakistan and refers to the involvement of TTP in terror attacks. He says that terror emanating from a neighbouring country is not acceptable at all. He says Pakistan is ready to protect its citizens. He says that Pakistan wants to address this issue through negotiations and peaceful means. He said contacts in this regard are being made directly and indirectly. What's your comment on all these statements? Because there are different avenues that the Prime Minister has highlighted regarding the security paradigm of our country.
Thank you very much, Barsab. I think the Prime Minister has, I think this is not the first time which Pakistan is highlighting that the issues which Pakistan is confronting since the new regime, this Taliban regime took over in Afghanistan, that the terror attack in Pakistan has phenomenally increased during the last year to 2024. I think there is a tremendous increase, and it's quite unfortunate. And you know, they are not only targeting the security forces, even the ordinary peoples are not spared by the terrorists. So I think the Prime Minister was quite gracious that he did not mention, he did not name Afghanistan. Otherwise, it was quite clear. And it is not only Pakistan which is saying that this militancy or terrorism is emanating from Afghanistan. You might have read the UN recent report, which quite, I think, elaborate and it highlighted that
being the largest
TTP is the largest terror network in Afghanistan, operating from Afghanistan, and a major threat is faced by Pakistan. So I think, but it's the latter part of the Prime Minister's speech. I read the statement, and Prime Minister says that I think he is referring to having contacts with the Kabul administration, that we try to negotiate with them, we try to convince them, we try to I think we use all the methods and we reach them to stop these terrorists using the Afghan soil against Pakistan. I think sometimes somebody can misinterpret it and say that Pakistan contacted the terrorist group, the TTP. So it is not, I think, referring to having contacts with the TTP. It is with the Afghan Taliban. And despite that, and this is quite unfortunate, that we were having a lot of expectations, and I think that was bad on our part, having expectations from them.
We've done so much for the Afghans.
So much. It's not only for Taliban. I think we have done too much for the Afghans. And since 1979, when the Soviet attacked Afghanistan, since then, even today, we have, I think, more than 3.5 million Afghan living in Afghanistan, having various statuses. Some are the refugees, some having the POR card, some having the Afghan citizen card, some are illegal, most are illegal. Pakistan was not expecting that, especially from the Taliban leadership, that they will allow this terror network to operate from Afghan side. And you might have, in the UN report, if you read that, it says that not only they are allowing them, they have the training centers, and they operate freely. Their movement is they are facilitating, and especially Al Qaeda is the new methods, the sophisticated methods, which the TTP terrorists
is assisting them.
It is Al Qaeda which are training them and which are assisting them. So I think it is quite clear. It's not only Pakistan which is asking the Afghan Taliban to take care of these terror network. One, Afghan Taliban have agreed in the Doha agreement that they will not allow any terror syndicate, any terror outfit to use the Afghan soil against any other country. So Pakistan. And another, I think, for me, it is quite interesting that Afghan Taliban succeeded in stopping the ETIM using the Afghan soil against China, and even the IMU, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, they have been quite successfully stopped to use Afghan soil against Uzbekistan. And Al Qaeda, so far since Taliban took over for the last more than 3 years now, almost 3 years now, Al Qaeda has been, I think, has not used the Afghan soil to launch attack against any European or any Western interest or American interest. So for us, it's a matter of a big concern that how Taliban's they are successful against the ETIM, IMU, and the TTT, Tehrik-e-Taliban Tajikistan, etc. And even I think as for the ISK, this Khorasan using its soil against Iran, I think they are quite too.
Then why not for Pakistan?
Yeah, but only for Pakistan. So I think this is $1 million questions for me. That and despite that, the Pakistani government, Pakistani administration, and the people, even we use the ulama, we use the tribal jargons, etc., to convince them, stop them using the Afghan soil against Pakistan. So far, they are blaming Pakistan for saying that it is Pakistan which
But
is
of
sending
course, it's $1 million question, but there are also a lot of $1 million answers
Yeah,
that different people are given as far as that is concerned. We'll come to that. But Ambassador Kiani, coming to you, I'd like to refer to that famous statement of TTP being Pakistan's red line by Pakistan's Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Ambassador Asif Khan Durrani. But he, at the same time, just like our Prime Minister, says that there are hopes that the interim Afghan government would take effective action against the outfit. What are the expectations from the Afghan interim government, and will they ever heed to Pakistan's request for stopping the usage of their soil against Pakistan?
First of all, let me just state to you, I'm quite surprised when people have expectation from Afghan government, A, B, C, D. Since 1947 till today, twice diplomatic relations were broken between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Number one, please try understand. Number two, I'm also surprised when people say brotherly relations, they don't exist. No brotherly relation exists between any countries. It is national interest which dictates relationship between two countries. If Afghanistan would have been a brotherly country, do you think it would allow its territory to be used against Pakistan? Mr. Hassan was very right. Why us? Why us? Because since 1947, believe it or not, I've been to Afghanistan. I cannot state that I'm an expert on Afghanistan, like Mr. Durrani and others. No. But believe it or not, they have no sympathy for Pakistan. I can say vouch for it. And it is the leadership which is at fault. Right from 47 till today. Try to understand that Pakistan has given transit facilities to Afghanistan like any country would do according to international law. And people have been doing business. But international law also states, for which Afghanistan is a signatory, that you will not allow your territory to be used against your neighbors or any other country for terrorism or other purposes, extremist purposes. But this has been going on. So many times the Foreign Office people have been calling these Afghan CDA and telling them, your delegations have gone there, military and political delegations have gone there, and the so-called religious scholars have gone there. It's time to, believe or not, I tell you, international law allows Pakistan to use all methods to stop this madness. Because I tell you frankly, every single third day when these people die, soldiers, officers, Jawans, and Pakistani citizens, the state has extremely difficult task of convincing the people whose families have lost their lives as to what we are doing. There is now, it's important that this issue should be brought on the floor of the parliament, and bipartisan consensus should be developed as to how this is to be. Discussion, talking, calling them, it's all over. It's now time to save more lives. And one important thing, Afghanistan should understand the significance of geopolitical location and significance of coexistence, like normal countries. Forget that brotherly country. And I was reading this thing, very right. If Afghanistan applies for visas, why is there a problem with Pakistan? The former army chief, I commend him for having, put the barriers, or for example, the fencing of the borders. Absolutely right. Why not? Fence it, apply for visa and come here. We will not stop you for medical reasons, for business reasons, for personal reasons.
Ambassador Saab, I'd like to just state one fact. Afghanistan shares 6 borders with 6 different countries. Pakistan is the only country where they raise a hue and cry when it comes to entering, to and fro. The other countries have all proper documentation and visa systems that the Afghan people are adhering to. Why is this not the case with Pakistan? Why raise a hue and cry when we A, erect a border, B, ask for proper documentation and visa policies?
Sir, we have to accept this has been our also fault. Since 1979 or even earlier, we allowed these people to come without documents. And as they say, spare the rod, spoil the child. They allowed these people to come without documents. And then there is I'm sorry to say, there's a mafia involved in this smuggling of goods and all these things. So once you allow these people to come without documents, Now you tell them stop it, and naturally speaking, they will raise hue and cry. That is the reason the government should be very firm that from now on.
I'll come to you a bit later in the show. Hassan, you just listened to what Ambassador Shahid Kiani had to say, but I'd like to refer to some other aspects of what Asif Durrani also said. Despite the fact that there is a lot of tension, Ambassador Durrani still says we have to deal with the Afghan government with patience and perseverance. Pakistan desires peace and stability in Afghanistan. He calls for removing obstacles on trade between the two neighbors. He talks about transit of Pakistan's goods from Afghanistan to Central Asia as well. Also, he calls on expediting the national connectivity projects such as the TTP gas pipeline project and Casa 1000 power transmission from Kyrgyzstan to Tajikistan to Afghanistan and Pakistan as well. Then on the issue of terrorism, Mr. Durrani says terrorism emanating of Afghanistan is a concern not only for Pakistan but for other neighboring countries as well. My question is twofold. Do you feel regional countries can assist the Afghan interim government if it cannot, or for whatever reason, stop the TTP or the Al-Qaeda from infiltrating into Pakistan or their factions, and maybe create some kind of a joint force and help the Afghan interim government stop these fighters or these factions from entering Pakistan or in other territories? Secondly, can both countries, in your point of view, sit down, thrash down these issues with mutual consensus, a consensus that could be beneficial for the region, for both countries as well? Do you feel Afghanistan is reluctant, and if so, why?
Look, I think as far this issue of terrorism is concerned, it's not only country-specific issue. It's not only Pakistan which is facing these threat are only Afghanistan and Iran or Tajikistan and Uzbekistan too. Even Russia, recently very deadly attacks happen in Russia too. Especially this region, I think if this regional approach is adopted, I think it will be a marvelous solution for, it will have a marvelous solution for it. The only option is to have a regional approach, and I think, but it is who will build the kits. The thing is that who will convince the Afghans to agree on this regional approach, that if you don't have the capacity, let's say, I'm not blaming the Afghan not having the will to fight. Let's say, and to be positive about Afghans for a moment, let's say they have the will, but they do not have the capacity. So I think regional countries will be more than willing, because Iran is facing ISK terror from Afghanistan. Uzbekistan is facing IMU terror attack. Tajikistan is facing TTT, Tehrik-e-Taliban Tajikistan.
No, but the fact is those have been controlled for the moment. But it is TTP that is uncontrolled.
But it doesn't mean that they are totally eliminated. They are still there. They may have been in hibernation at the moment, but the issue is still there. And I think these terror syndicates residing are placed in Afghanistan. It is endangering the entire South Asia, its entire region, and especially this 6 neighbors of Afghanistan, including China, then including India, etc. So I think it will be in Afghans' interest, not only in Pakistan interest, not only in Iran interest, it will be in Afghan interest too, if they agree. And if few thousand terrorists who are here, who are using the Afghan soil, who are, I think, targeting Pakistan, targeting Iran, and targeting the other neighboring countries. Russia, what happened in Russia, and I think the tentacles were, I think, linked with the Badakhshan-based person who fly from here, etc. So it will be an ideal thing, sir. Unfortunately, I think Afghan will not agree to it. I think while studying the Afghan, commenting on the Afghan situations, you can't, I think, separate it from the international politics too. Look, this region is very, very important. You have almost 5 nuclear countries, some emerging, and like India, Pakistan, China, Russia, etc. You have the 2 superpowers here. And you have, I think, the world almost 50% population is in this region. So it is quite attractive for the superpowers or for the other important countries of the world. So you have to keep that thing in mind also. Middle East is directly being affected from here. You can say can be managed from here. The Ukraine war, and the Russia-US rivalry. The China-US rivalry, etc. The Chinese and the Iranian and the US rivalry, etc. So you have to connect all the dots, and then you will understand it. At the moment, it is the US which is keeping the Afghan keeping the Afghan Taliban alive. During the last 3 years, almost
17.9
$18 billion have been given them in kind or in cash, etc. But mostly it is in cash. You know, there is no banking system connected with the international community. So the US can play a big role in it. But you know, I don't know how much they are willing to pressure. I'm not saying to convince them to pressure the Afghan Taliban, because only they are financing them. China doesn't have the capacity to give that amount of money to the Afghan Taliban. Neither Russia, neither any other country. Only the US is doing it. I don't know what is the US approach to this phenomena, that at the moment almost 20 terror networks are being in hibernation in Afghanistan. So there is, I think we have to look at their interest also. At the moment, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I think at one time they tried to take the Afghan issue in on their agenda. And you know, this Moscow process was there, Istanbul process was there, the Herat dialogues things started. And suddenly we saw this Doha is again revived. Who is, why the Doha is revived, and what was there in Doha? Doha is the only international forum where Taliban set the agenda. You know, the Doha agenda, there was no human rights issue, there was no women rights issue, there was no other human rights violation. Only two things which are in a better way marketed by the Taliban. We control the poppy, the contraband things, narcotics. And we need to be linked with the international financial system. Our banking system shall be, I think, connected with So the agenda was set by Taliban. No other representative of Afghan were allowed to Doha. Women were denied entry on the table, etc. So Doha was, it was the UN organized conference, and you know, the UN, definitely the US was there. So sometime when you are looking at the situations specifically, so I think it's not only the Talibans who are in a way supporting, or who are in a way, I think, keeping their silence over the activities of the TTP. Someone else is also trying to nurture these terror syndicate in this particular region. Either it is being used as a dustbin for all the terror from around the world, because you must have a place where the where the terrorists or the militant, etc., they feel safe, they secured there. So I think we have to, as Ambassador has rightly pointed out, that this is the time we have to take this issue to the Parliament. Unfortunately, in the last 40 plus years, we haven't discussed the Afghan issue in the Parliament. We haven't brought it into the public forum. We haven't put into the public.
Although we
debate,
have had major conferences,
on Afghanistan, not at the public forum. We didn't. Pakistan's Afghan policy, or Pakistan's, I think, policy vis-a-vis these regional countries, never been brought into the Parliament. So, Ambassador is quite right that this is the time we shall take it to the Parliament and come up with a consensus policy. What needs to be done?
All right. Consensus is important, but you know, at the end of the day, as Hassan Sahab also points out, it's the will, whether it be the will of the Afghan interim government, whether it be the will of those who are nurturing, as Hassan Khan alluded to, this whole movement of the TTP or other terrorist organizations within Afghanistan. Ambassador Shahid Kiani Sahab, last question to you. Ambassador Durrani also urges the government to continue its crackdown against smuggling from Afghanistan. We all remember the DGISPR press briefing also that talked about more or less the same thing. He also said that there's a vested interest that doesn't want this to happen. He mentioned the illegal spectrum, the crime nexus that is also happening through this illegal smuggling. Cars that are unregistered are being used for such nefarious activities as well. What needs to be done on this aspect when it comes to illegal smuggling, usage of transport mechanisms that that are unaccounted for and are usually used in terror operations in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan? In short, if I were to ask you, cite me 4 or 5 important points what Pakistan has to move forward with in order to secure its its country from a security perspective, what would you say?
First of all, I would reiterate once again, I support Mr. Hassan, that we have to have a regional approach. These countries are also affected, the neighboring countries of Afghanistan one-point agenda, nothing else. Stop your territory from being used by terrorists to attack the neighboring country. One-point agenda, nothing else. Forget about this thing. And second thing, the thing is, for us, Pakistan has a big, believe it or not, a pressure on them that Afghanistan's people would like to get themselves, to go to the hospitals in Pakistan, do business in Pakistan. The transit facilities are easier for them. So this is something which we need to do. The third thing is, it is important, sir, that the Afghan government, what has happened really bad is that the Americans who when they left all the most modern equipment with them. Instead of that equipment being given to the Afghan government forces, they are with the TTP. So this thing is very, very important that they should be told that the advantages of you stopping your territory from attacking the neighboring countries, especially Pakistan, which is paying a very heavy price for keeping their refugees also in this country for the last 4 decades. It's more important that stop this thing because there is now a consensus in Pakistan within the people, the military and the political spectrum, and that Afghanistan's government should be told not in the manner in which we are talking, call them, bring them here and that, but in a manner which it will understand. And understanding is consensus should be brought in the parliament that yes, we will talk now, but if Afghanistan does not accept this thing, we've been telling them we cannot allow our soldiers and our people to lose their lives every day. They have to stop, or otherwise we'll use the other methods which other countries have been doing it to stop terrorism from emanating from that country and attacking us.
Thank you very much, Shahid Kiani Saab, former ambassador and analyst. Thank you very much, Hassan Khan, to have come after such a long time. I hope we'll see much more of you in Newsroom in the coming weeks and months as well. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns Palestine and day 292 of this war that has been continuing between both the factions, as well as the Beijing declaration that has recently taken place between all the different factions of the parties that are present in Palestine. All 14 of them have agreed to the Beijing declaration, and a huge credit goes to Beijing as far as that is concerned. But there is Netanyahu's arrival in the US and his address to the joint sitting of the Congress. That is also going to happen. What will happen at that time, despite the fact that different protests are also happening by Jews in the United States of America, asking Israel to stop what it has been doing in Palestine. The fact is also that more and more casualties are happening as we speak. More people are dying, more people are getting injured. There's some news of a truce or negotiation or ceasefire, and a first part of which, of course, is a 3-part deal that had been pushed by Biden, and now it is still being pushed. But the fact is, there are a lot of question marks on whether these factions will or will not agree to these all the parts that form the peace proposal or the ceasefire agreement between both the sides. This said, a lot is also being done from the Pakistani side. There have been a lot of comments from Pakistan side, whether it be the Beijing declaration, where our Prime Minister had felicitated China on mediating for this Beijing declaration to happen between all the factions that are present in Palestine. But the fact is, we in Pakistan can only do as much. We can help them politically, we can help them diplomatically, but what needs to be done basically in Palestine is there needs to be a will by all the important countries, important players, who are starting from the US and then going to other countries in the European Union and other important global players that need to form a consensus as far as how to move forward with this current issue and stop what is happening as far as the violence and the barbarities are going on in Palestine. We've been joined by 2 guests to talk about this topic as well. In the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Saira Nawaz Abbasi. She's an international relations expert. Dr. Saira, thank you very much to have joined us. And in this online, we've been joined by Ambassador Jamil Ahmed Khan Saab. He's a former ambassador and an analyst. Jamil Saab, thank you very much to have joined us as well. Let's begin with you, Dr. Saira. This declaration that has been signed, which is called the Beijing Declaration, has been signed by all the different factions, but particularly a lot of emphasis is being put on Hamas and Al-Fatah. It comes as at a very sensitive time when Gaza is burning, when Rafah is burning, when more and more people are being butchered, especially since the ICJ ruling came out, and we see no effect of that ruling. In fact, the aggression or the violence that has aggravated. But the fact is, when you return to that declaration, because what is very important in this time and day is unity between all the different factions in Palestine, and this declaration proves that. But there has been a similar deal that happened in 2011, but that didn't last very long. Will this deal last longer? Is it China's intervention that will prove to be the game changer? What could be the repercussions of this deal, of this declaration, on the war in Palestine?
First of all, thank you very much for having me at your show, Omar. I would say that you are right that such kind of deals have already been in place, such kind of agreements, especially in 2011 and 2022. But you see, the dynamic of the war is changed. There is more involvement of international public and international community into this war. So we should not take it light that the future of this or the fate of this agreement and deal would be the same. And of course, China has emerged as an international global mediator by brokering this deal. So I believe that and one more thing is the longevity of the war. Now, the factions inside the Palestine, they also understand that if they would not unite among themselves, and if the difference of opinion remains there and everything would be failed, then of course that would be exploited by the Israeli and their allies. So I think there would be, if not abrupt change of making everything smooth. Of course there will be the challenges because of the difference of opinion, but I think now they have also understood the fact that if they will not unite, they would not be able to achieve anything, especially peace and stability inside the Palestine, especially when the security advisor of the Israel have announced that war will be extended to next 7 months. So that is a, I think, alarming situation for them also.
Exactly. Now the Israeli war minister talks about the war being extended for 7 more months. In this whole context, the Beijing Declaration becomes even more important. Ambassador Jamil Khan Saab, the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, broke down the key points of this agreement that was signed between all the different factions, which talks about the groups declaring the establishment of an interim national unity government responsible for the West Bank and Gaza. Once this war ends, it will govern an important step as it blocks the Israeli efforts to create a collaborative structure inside Palestinian interests. The national unity government that all factions have agreed to will be composed of leaders from all the 14 Palestinian entities. Then a new Palestinian National Council will be formed, and they are all committed to the creation of a Palestinian state on the lands Israel captured in the 1967 war. How important are these points? How implementable are these points?
I think the pressure is building up, and the narrative is building up to check Israel. And now that a very important player has also become a mediator and facilitator in it, that is China. So that is definitely going to have its impact. Whether it's going to have its immediate impact or not, it's a different thing. I don't think it would have its immediate impact. The reason being that there have been Security Council resolutions, and there are more than 42 resolutions, in regard to the Palestine, supporting Palestine cause. There are about 42 resolutions, and condemning Israel, about 31 resolutions. Two-state theory, about 13 resolutions. Jerusalem shipping and Tel Aviv, 6 resolutions. Settlement and refugees, 4 or 5 resolutions. So there are scores of resolutions already existing. So Security Council resolutions don't really have much impact, and none of these resolutions have so far been implemented because Israel has always been very reluctant in accepting that, including the one which was brokered by United States and Israel prima facie is not really accepting it. My understanding is something different, that Israel, if America in its true sense had asserted pressure on Israel, and what could have been the mechanism of asserting pressure, pulling out its warships, pulling out its defense dome, aerial defense dome, pulling out its dollar support, and pulling out its moral support. Israel would have immediately come to the pressure. But that didn't happen. That happened, and it's not going to happen in the near future, it appears, even if possibly once Trump takes power in the United States. We have to really see it in a different perspective and under the geopolitical landscape, the dynamic geopolitical landscape. We can see things escalating, and that's going to mount a pressure. Hezbollah on one side, the drones from the Hezbollah side, and aerial bombardment from Israel's side in Lebanon. Hamas, despite all the efforts and military might, Hamas still is quite a potent.
You shouldn't forget the Houthis, Ambassador Saab.
Houthi is a very important factor. I've been in serving in Yemen, and I have seen Houthis resolve to really pursue their aims and objective. I had the personal privilege of meeting Hussein al-Houthi, who was killed in bombardment. So knowing Houthi and knowing Houthi command, it would become very hard. So this entire trio, and then of course Iran, we cannot really ignore Iran's influence in this entire area. So it's definitely is a pressure, and Israel would not be very wise to really engage all the three groups concurrently, and they would not be able to, because you saw that what happened just a couple of days ago. The Houthis could, have their drone right in Tel Aviv. So that means they have that capability, and they have the capability of assembly and capability of manufacturing more missiles. So that is one part, because the complexity is changing. And under those complexities, two major things have happened in recent past. In the month of May, on the 30th May, there was a conference, the Arab conference, which had taken place under the umbrella of China and, of course, under the leadership of the president of China, where all the Gulf leaders and the Arab leaders were there. And there also they had a resolve to really assert pressure to come to some conclusion of the Gaza conflict and Gaza war. So followed by this one, which is a Beijing declaration, which seems to be a continuation, because these Arab leaders must have attributed, I can very conveniently analyze and connect the dots, must have attributed to that. These Arab leaders are under double pressure. One pressure is that they have their contacts and connections and influence of the United States and its allies, and of course Israel is the beneficiary of it. And the other side is the bottoms-up pressure of their own population. So now what I can feel that these Arab leaders and the leaders from the OIC countries, they would be very happy that a very important, a very important player, that is China, is also facilitating that. China is one power. And you might have noticed that soon after yesterday it happened, and yesterday evening there was a statement from Russia hailing and appreciating this collaboration and this unification of all the groups of Palestine.
So our Prime Minister has taken out a statement. I was saying Pakistan has also appreciated that, and there's a statement that was taken out by our Prime Minister in that regard as well. So there is a lot of appreciation of Beijing's efforts in this regard. Beijing also, if you remember very well, has been behind the rapprochement between Iran and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well. So I think this is just another feather in Beijing's cap, bringing all the factions together and of course making them all agree to this agreement. Saira, Abbasi Sahiba, when it comes to the widening of the war, the regionalization of this Israel-Palestine war. We are seeing more and more of that happening, whether it be through the Hezbollah, through the Houthis, and of course their demands that we will continue doing this until and unless you end what is happening, what you are perpetrating in Gaza. But this Israel doesn't seem to want to end it anyway. As you yourself have said, several months more of this war is going to continue. And in all of this is the visit of Netanyahu to the United States of America. He's currently there. He's going to meet many important leaders, has already met, and there are protests going on by Jewish activists that are protesting against the US military support for Israel inside a congressional building on Tuesday. This is just a day before he is going to address the joint sitting of the Congress. A lot of those have been arrested. The police says they are not allowed to protest inside a congressional building. Nevertheless, this is an important protest, comes at an important time. What effect will it have?
See, these are the high-profile protests in the congressional building. So, they will definitely bring attention of the media in the sense to highlight that there are dissenting views among the Jewish community and inside the America regarding this conflict. So, of course, when media takes into something that brings attention of the people, not only the internal domestic public opinion, but the international public opinion also. So, talking about this, if we think that would outrightly bring a change into the American foreign policy, would not be there. However, yes, it will affect. Of course, when there will be the world public opinion, domestic public opinion would be affected by the media attention and everything. There would be the re-evaluation of the foreign policy objectives of the United States of America. But that is not going to bring outrightly a different policy or
and when we see all the different governments that are, whether it be the Democrats or the Republicans, they all have a pro-Israel policy that is not different from the other.
Yeah, because there is a continuity of the policies inside the America. It's not like the other states.
Of course, that is true. Ambassador Jamil Saab, last phase of questions from you and from Dr. Saira, and I'll begin with Netanyahu again in Washington. He tells while talking to media persons that about the peace deal that is happening. He said that it will not take place all at once. There will be stages. However, I believe we can advance the deal. Although Palestinian officials say that there is nothing new in Netanyahu's stance. We all know about Biden's three-phase deal. He's also going to meet Joe Biden in the US. What do you foresee about this ceasefire deal? Is it ever going to happen? Ambassador Saab. Ambassador Jamil, okay. So I'll revert the question to you, Dr. Saira. Okay.
I'm back now. So basically this time, the pressure which is being asserted from the Israeli Prime Minister, there in the Congress, as well as by meeting personally with Trump, it appears that Netanyahu, what aim and objective he has about this three-phase ceasefire, which Biden had advanced and Biden administration had advanced. He wants that there shouldn't be any commitment with Hamas that the war would not be resumed or the attack would not be resumed after the three phases are over. So that is one specific point which Netanyahu, in my view, is going to propel and is going to really try and convince. But the Democrats have their own problem. This is a three-phase plan which Joe Biden had brokered, and Joe Biden administration had really evolved with it. And the voters and supporters are aligned on this particular aspect. And therefore, Joe Biden would like that three-phase, this peace plan, 6-week first phase, where partially there would be exchange of prisoners and hostages, and the second, the remaining prisoners and hostages and the permanent ceasefire. That is where the contention is. A permanent ceasefire, Netanyahu doesn't really want to commit that it would be permanent ceasefire and the war could be resumed even after that. So that That is what. And then secondly, if we go through the Israeli lobby book of John Shermail, it's very clear that the influence on the Congress people during the election, the Israeli lobby, they really assert a lot. And once the Israeli Prime Minister is there, that also would get activated. And they are the one they are going to influence both Kamala Harris as well as Donald Trump to draw their support. Now, at the moment, since the Democrats, Joe Biden is in power, so he would like to implement whatever he had decided.
Let's see, Ambassador Saab, the fact is that his address to the Congress is tomorrow. That we'll really want to listen to and see where Israel wants to go and how the US will also react to what Israel is demanding from the US government. Thank you very much, Ambassador Jamil Ahmed Khan Saab, to have joined us. Thank you very much, Dr. Saira Abbasi, to have joined us. And it's always a pleasure to talk to people who give us a wide perspective of the diplomatic arena and what could happen, what are the different perspectives and how it could move forward. Thank you very much to the both of you to have joined us. Coming back to our last stories very, very quickly. First of all, the Prime Minister's hepatitis C eradication program is to be launched this month. This has been confirmed by Prime Minister's coordinator, Dr. Malik Mukhtar Ahmed Bharat. He said it was unfortunate that the number of patients suffering from hepatitis was increasing in the country. He said that all these patients will get the treatment as this program is being launched, and a PC1 of rupees 68 billion has been approved for it. He said the program will be started with the collaboration of both the federal and all the 4 provincial governments. Every person over 12 years of age will be screened and free treatment will be provided to the patients. Next, New Zealand New Zealand's inquiry finds 200,000 children and vulnerable adults abused in care, and it is for this very reason that New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has apologized and promised reforms on Wednesday after this inquiry became public. Nearly 1 in 3 children and vulnerable adults in care from 1950 to 2019 experienced some form of abuse. The report found a finding that could leave the government facing billions of dollars in fresh compensation claims. Finally, today is the death anniversary of Urdu writer Qudratullahshahab. He is a very prominent Urdu writer, was a prominent Urdu writer, but of course his work still remains, and was a civil servant as well. He was born in Gilgit on the 26th of February 1920, started writing in his early days, both in the Urdu and the English language. At the age of 16, won an international essay competition organized by the Reader's Digest in London. He is also best known for his autobiography, Shahabnama, and he passed away and left for a higher abode on this very day in 1986 in Islamabad. We, of course, pray for his soul and for his family as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end for today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.